almost died on them last week. She'd found a ring that contained one of the stones of midnight. It gave her psychic powers. By merely thinking of someone, she could experience their thoughts and emotions. Unfortunately, bounty hunters from Max's home planet were tracking the stolen stone. They tried to kill Maria, and they probably would have. But Michael Guerin, Max's best friend, faced the bounty hunters with her and basically saved her. Now the worst thing Michael had to deal with was adjusting to his latest foster home. His new foster parents, the Pascals, had a lot of rules, but they seemed to really care about the kids who lived with them. That had to count for something. And Liz. Admit it, Max thought. Now you've come to the real reason you're feeling good. Liz Ortecho doesn't hate you anymore. He had come so close to permanently messing things up with Liz. He'd kissed her and then told her he wanted to be just friends. Then he'd kissed her again and told her he wanted to be just friends again. And then when she decided to go out with another guy, Max had followed her like some kind of lunatic stalker. Not exactly something a friend would do. So Liz had gone into Max hating mode. But when Maria got hurt, it took all 6 of them to get her through, so they put Max's maddening fickleness aside for the time being. They'd managed to find a way back to being friends. Just friends. But friends. A new song came on the radio, one of those whiny, wailing chick songs about the pain of love. Not what Max wanted to hear right now, not when he was actually feeling decent for once. He did a fast button punch to change the station. A drum solo pounded out. It was loud, way too loud, louder than it would be if he were sitting next to one of those huge amps at a concert. Max fumbled for the volume control and turned the knob to the left, but the drums got louder. He felt as if the drumsticks were slamming into his brain, stabbing through the gray matter. Max pulled over to the curb and stopped the car. He snapped the radio off. The drumming stopped. But there were still so many sounds. A car honked as it passed him. Max jerked his head back and gritted his teeth. The honk seemed to pierce his delicate eardrum like a needle. Max shoved his hands against his ears. He tried to keep from screaming. The sound of his own howl of pain would be agony. He squeezed his eyes shut, leaned down, and pressed his forehead against the steering wheel. His hands weren't blocking out enough of the noise. He could still hear car wheels against the street, a bird chirping in one of the trees, 2 girls giggling. He could hear electricity pulsing through the power lines over his head, and the leaves of the trees brushing together, and his own blood rushing through his veins. It was too much. He couldn't take it. Then it stopped, as if some giant hand had reached down and lowered the cosmic volume control. Max could hear only dim, muffled sounds through his hands. He slowly opened his eyes. He watched a car drive by. He could hardly hear it. Max moved his hands a few inches away from his ears. He held them poised there, ready to slap them back in place if he needed to. But the sounds were just normal sounds. Some louder than others, but none getting even close to the pain-inducing level. What was that? Max thought. He glanced around the street. He spotted a woman a few houses down, working in her garden. She seemed too absorbed in her work to have experienced anything like what Max had. Of course she hadn't. Maybe there had been a screw-up at the radio station, something that made it blast out music at eardrum-popping levels, but that couldn't explain the volume on cars and birds and power lines. No, whatever that was had happened inside him. Max let out a long, shuddering breath and lowered his hands to the wheel. He waited a few more minutes to make sure he wasn't going to get hit with another sound blast. Then he pulled away from the curb. He felt the tension in his neck and shoulders and arms as he drove. Even his fingers were curled too tightly around the wheel. Relax, he told himself. Just take a deep breath and relax. His body wouldn't obey. It was bracing.